Have you ever received a call or an email that for a fleeting moment made your stomach clench? Perhaps it was a message from an unfamiliar number claiming to be your bank, or an urgent plea for help from someone you thought you knew. In that instant, before your rational brain fully engaged, you might have felt a flicker of fear, curiosity, or even a desire to help. That brief, potent moment is the gateway into what we call scam psychology. Today, we're going to explore how influence happens, not in a how-to guide for nefarious purposes, but by demystifying the fundamental human tendencies that make us susceptible. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about understanding the clever ways fraudsters exploit universal human traits to bypass our usual guardrails. My aim is to shed light on these mechanisms so we can all navigate an increasingly complex world with greater awareness and confidence. Scam psychology is a fascinating field, drawing heavily from social psychology, cognitive science, and behavioral economics. It investigates how manipulators exploit predictable patterns in our thought processes and emotions to influence us, often without us even realizing it. This isn't some niche, abstract topic. It's incredibly relevant today, perhaps more than ever. With the rise of digital interactions and increasingly sophisticated social engineering, understanding these tactics is crucial for everyone. It helps us build stronger defenses against evolving scam tactics and allows us to support those who have been targeted. So, how exactly does this influence take root? It often begins with our emotions. Scammers are masters of emotional manipulation. They might tap into our deepest fears, perhaps by threatening financial loss, legal action, or even harm to loved ones. Think of the urgent message claiming your account has been compromised, demanding immediate action. This creates a powerful sense of fear and urgency, compelling us to act before we can think clearly. But it's not just fear. They can also exploit our excitement and greed by promising unrealistic returns on investments or improbable windfalls. They prey on our sympathy and goodwill with fabricated stories of distress, asking for help for a sick child or a stranded friend. And they can even exploit our hope, offering improbable solutions to life's challenges, or our loneliness and need to belong by building fake relationships online, slowly gaining trust over weeks or months. Each emotion acts as a lever, designed to disarm our critical thinking. Beyond emotions, fraudsters also skillfully exploit our cognitive biases and mental shortcuts, what psychologists call heuristics. Our brains are incredibly efficient, constantly looking for ways to simplify decision-making. While generally helpful, these shortcuts can be weaponized. For example, optimism bias makes us believe bad things won't happen to us. We often think, "I'm too smart to fall for that." Truth bias leads us to assume honesty in interactions, especially with someone who sounds credible. And confirmation bias makes us favor information that aligns with our pre-existing beliefs, making us less likely to question a tempting offer if we already want to believe it's true. Perhaps the most well-known framework for understanding influence comes from Dr. Robert Cialdini, whose 6 principles of persuasion are frequently, and unfortunately, weaponized by scammers. Let's look at each one. First, reciprocity. This principle states that we feel obligated to return favors. A scammer might offer something free, a small gift, a prize, or even just their time and attention, creating a sense of obligation to listen or respond positively to their subsequent request, which is usually where the actual scam lies.
Next, commitment and consistency. Once we've made a small commitment, we feel internal pressure to be consistent with it, even if it leads to larger, more problematic actions. This is the foot-in-the-door technique. A scammer might ask you to fill out a small survey, then follow up with a request for a donation, then ask for your bank details for verification. Each step builds on the last, making it harder to say no. Explaining third, common scam example. Then there's social proof. We tend to do what we see others doing, especially when we're uncertain. Scammers create fake testimonials, fabricated reviews, or even simulated live feeds showing others supposedly benefiting from their offer. This mimics widespread approval, making the scam seem legitimate and popular. Fourth principle, authority figure example. Authority is a powerful principle. We're conditioned to obey authority figures. Fraudsters exploit this by impersonating officials, from banks, government agencies, law enforcement, or even tech support experts. The caller ID might be spoofed, the email might look official, and the language they use often conveys a sense of power and urgency, making us less likely to question their demands. Fifth principle, personal connection. Liking is simple. We're more easily persuaded by people we like. Scammers invest time in building rapport, mirroring our speech patterns, finding common interests, or pretending to share a background. They might even develop long-term romantic relationships online in what are known as romance scams, making it incredibly difficult for victims to believe they are being manipulated. Final principle, fear of missing out. Finally, scarcity. The idea that something is limited or exclusive makes it more desirable. Scammers create a false sense of urgency with time-limited offers, last chance deals, or by claiming only a few spots remain. This taps into our fear of missing out, pushing us to make hasty decisions without proper due diligence. Slight pause, summarizing how these are used. These principles, when skillfully combined, form the backbone of social engineering techniques, methods that exploit human error to gain access to information or assets. It includes everything from impersonating trusted entities to exploiting existing relationships in what's known as affinity fraud, where fraudsters target members of a specific group, like a church or a cultural community, because of the inherent trust within that group. Changing focus to vulnerabilities. Now, it's important to understand that susceptibility to scams isn't a sign of weakness. It's a testament to the sophistication of these tactics. However, certain factors can increase our vulnerability. Situational factors like stress, distraction, or significant life events, a recent death in the family, a job loss, or even moving house can lower our guard. Personality traits and cognitive factors, such as impulsivity, low self-esteem, complacency, or lower critical thinking abilities, can also play a role. Addressing demographics, correcting misconceptions. And while older adults are often perceived as prime targets due to factors like social isolation or cognitive changes, it's crucial to remember that all demographics are susceptible. Younger individuals aged 18 to 24 actually report higher incidences of scams in some categories, perhaps due to a lack of experience with online caution or the novelty of digital platforms. Scammers cast a wide net, adapting their tactics for every age group. Slight pause, moving to broader discussions. This complex interplay of psychology and circumstance leads to several important ongoing discussions. One significant debate centers on victim blaming versus scammer sophistication. When victims face poor reimbursement rates from financial institutions, it can feel like they're being implicitly blamed. But as we've seen, scams are expertly designed to bypass rational defenses, making it incredibly difficult for anyone to spot them every time. Elaborating on challenges in future.
There's also ongoing research into the effectiveness of prevention strategies. What public awareness campaigns truly work against constantly evolving tactics? We also see the concerning phenomenon of repeat victimization, where individuals scammed once are more likely to be scammed again. This highlights the deep psychological impact of these experiences and the need for sustained support and tailored re-education. Looking ahead, the field of scam psychology aims for continued efforts to develop more effective prevention strategies and support mechanisms. This includes creating robust defenses against increasingly sophisticated manipulation, developing tailored prevention for various demographics, and providing better support for repeat victims. Academics are still working towards a unified theory of why people comply with scams, which would give us an even deeper understanding. And critically, there's an ongoing ethical discourse about the application of persuasion principles themselves, acknowledging their power for both good and ill. So, what's the takeaway? The core message isn't to be paranoid, but to be aware. Scams aren't just about technical hacks, they're about psychological manipulation. They exploit universal human desires for connection, security, hope, and even simple efficiency. By understanding the levers of influence, our emotions, our cognitive shortcuts, and Cialdini's principles, we can begin to recognize when these levers are being pulled by someone with ill intent. This knowledge empowers us. It shifts the narrative from victim blaming to understanding and resilience. Stay curious, stay informed, and remember, if something feels off or too good to be true, it probably is. A moment of critical reflection, a simple phone call to verify independently, or a quick conversation with a trusted friend can be your strongest defense. We can all learn to recognize these patterns and protect ourselves and those we care about.